Recording too. Sound check, sound check. Seems to be working.
Excellent. How did you all meet? And
Well, the band technically actually started because Vinny and Chris went to high school together, and so they started out the idea of a band in Vinny's back bedroom or whatever. And they used to have little practices back there, and the name of the band actually came from that too, because the dog that Vinny had growing up in his house was named Jake, and his parents would take that, they would go to the steak house and bring back steak for the dog and make Vinny eat mac and cheese and shit. The dog had his own chair. But they were practicing in the back room one time, and the dog was getting upset, so they had made him stop. They were like, "You guys gotta stop making all that noise back there. The dog's getting upset." So they were less than Jake.
yes,
Jake and the dog.
there we go.
But they met there, and then Chris moved up to Gainesville to go to school, and met Roger, and then we all kind of met there. So the band began.
Alright, so were you in any bands prior to Less Than Jake?
Yeah, I think we were all pretty much in bands prior to that. I was in, 3 or 4. I mean, if you count the one when I was in high school, called When Puberty Strikes was the most ridiculous band ever. Or no, not When Puberty Strikes, that was the latest one. It was Hebrew Love Waffles. Then I was in Dig Dug in college. And then When Puberty Strikes, which actually the first Less Than Jake tour, When Puberty Strikes went on that too. That was awesome. So I had double duty of that tour.
What's happened to the other projects now?
Well, actually, I'm still in one now that's called Coffee Project. That's a side project that I do. That's me and this guy Jake Crown that actually plays in Roger's other band Rehasher too. He plays drums for that. And then for Coffee Project, it's just 2 acoustic guitars and I either play acoustic or trombone, and then he plays acoustic guitar and sings and plays harmonica. Hey man, I'm trying to do an interview here. And then Rehasher is Roger's other side project band, and JR used to be in a band called Spring Heel Jack, and
all been pretty busy then.
yes, everyone's been in bands. Vinny was in a bunch of bands before this too. He used to play drums and some other stuff.
Your first LP release was called Pezcore. Where did you get the idea of that name?
Well, Vinny and Roger both collect Pez dispensers. You know what those are, Pez things, and They seriously, if you go to their house, they have these shelves built in their walls that have, they're at the weird elite status of collecting. They're not going to the store and buying. I mean, they still get the new ones when they come out or whatever, but they are the ones that are buying stuff. And they used to find, it was before internet too, and they used to have to go find them when we were on tour. And they'd get the score. Oh man, I don't have this one yet, or you'd find in a weird pawn shop or antique store or something like that. But so they were total Pez nerds, and then so that's where that came from. We were Pezcore instead of hardcore.
Does he bring any on tour with him, or is he just?
Well, what's funny about that is we used to get Pez, it used to be more of a thing, and we'd get them thrown on stage at us and stuff. And I seriously came home with a bag of Pez dispensers before, because I didn't have any. And I was like, I'll collect these too, or whatever. But sometimes they'll get them if something new came out or whatever, or work in a different country now, and something's only released in England or whatever. Then they'll get the 3-pack of Disney ones or whatever the hell came out. The new Star Wars 3D Pez or whatever, whatever's coming out. But not that often anymore, but definitely they used to try to do that. We used to always have to pull off at Toys R Us and weird stuff when we were on tour, in the van. We'd be like, oh, Toys R Us, we're pulling off. And then me and Chris would be like, fuck, because we didn't care at all. I don't want to go to Toys R Us again. It was a place for me to take a shit.
So do you have any things that you collect or anything, obsessions?
Any things that, obsessions?
Yeah.
Other than chicks. I mean birds. I'm really obsessed about little mini carrots, as you can see. We've eaten, this plate was full a little while ago. Let's see, what are our obsessions? I'm pretty obsessed with The Simpsons. I was a lot more so in the past, I guess.
Yeah.
And I kind of started collecting that shit, because everyone else was collecting things, so I was like, I need to start collecting something too. And I got a little out of hand. Can't even think of real phrases that exist. And I had a room full of them, and then I had kind of spread it out in my house, and now I actually, just before we left for Japan, right before this tour, I redid my house again because my old roommate moved out. So I took all the Simpsons stuff and my studio stuff and put it in one room. So now there's the studio, but it has all the Simpsons shit all around it, so it's kind of hard to concentrate on anything. It's really disturbing.
Yeah, your new EP's all full of TV jingles and classic theme tunes. What was the decision behind that?
Where'd the idea come from?
Yeah.
Well, we'd done some covers like that before a long time ago. We used to do the Jeffersons theme, and we had done Laverne and Shirley before. And we'd been talking about it for the last year or maybe even 2 years. We were joking. We were like, oh, we should do the Toys R Us thing. And we were like, we should maybe make a whole thing of it. And we kept talking about it, and eventually we were like, well, we're home now. And we were getting ready to start writing again. We were going to be home for a while, and we were like, well, let's just do this thing first, and to kind of get our feet wet, and because it was actually a really good learning experience too, because you have those TV theme songs and commercials are all like 30 seconds to a minute long, and they pack such amazing songwriting into that time. Like the Animaniacs song has like 4 key changes in it, and it's like, I mean, it's pretty impressive. So like, it is a really good kind of like homework to do before you go like start writing songs. So it was pretty cool to like gather some information and stuff. But yeah, you know, we're all like, you know, TV buffs, and the idea was to get like the idea of just sitting on a couch and like flipping channels, you know, and so that's why there's like the weird static in between and like the little blurbs of other stuff. And so like if you go to our website too, there's still a video thing that I made of it where it's synced up to the actual like video of the stuff. So it really is like and it's like in a TV frame. So it's kind of like you're sitting there watching the stuff.
That's pretty cool.
So that was kind of the idea, was to try and make up this whole idea of sitting around watching TV. Because everybody grows up on TV these days, damn it.
Yeah. And
I used to at least go play around in the woods and stuff sometimes. Now people they're either watching TV, they're on the internet, or they're playing video games. It's like I don't even think people leave the house anymore as kids.
They don't, no. It's just a box. What process then do you go about developing your music, and is it altered from like your previous years?
Yeah, it's always been kind of the same. You know, there's definitely been things thrown in to make it a little different, but yeah, it's usually just the 5 of us kind of. Like Chris and Raj will come up with like an idea for a song. Like one of them will have like, oh, I've got this riff or whatever, or like like a whole kind of like framework of a verse, chorus, and maybe a bridge. But usually it's like a verse and a chorus with like a melody. And then Vinny writes all the lyrics. So it's weird because sometimes we won't have lyrics for a while, and until he figures out, he's like, oh, this song that I've got like kind of some ideas for will fit into that a little bit, or it goes with that, how that sounds. It's really a weird mishmash of stuff. And then when it gets to a certain point, me and Jay are like, oh, that part's gonna have some horns on it, so we'll go to my house and like start working on horn stuff, or we'll do it right there in the we sit around the warehouse. Yeah. You know, then we start demoing out some ideas, and once it gets to the point where there's something kind of down, then it's easier to start really fitting everything together. I mean, the old days we used to just do it in the warehouse, just sitting there, and now we all kind of have like little studio stuff, and it's easier to kind of pass ideas around and let it kind of evolve. Yeah. But it's a real organic, like, you know, stir everything in the pot for a while thing, and it definitely gets somewhere. Yeah. Somewhere awkward, but yeah, it's been pretty much like that the whole time. You know, we've experimented. You know, we've always had like producers around and that kind of stuff or whatever, like throwing their 2 cents in. But it usually starts with like the 5 of us. Like again, like Roger or Chris will have like an idea for something, and then you know the lyrics kind of start getting wedged in there, and then there's horn parts thrown in, and then there's what if we change this or put that there? And, you know, it's pretty organic, I guess.
You've supported the likes of Bon Jovi, Blink-182 and stuff like that. How was it playing to crowds which weren't solely there for you?
What's odd about that is that's totally 2 different worlds, because when we went out with Blink-182, we were about the same level band. We were both in vans, and like they hadn't really gotten huge yet. And so that was like a co-headline tour, and it was kind of about the same, like our fans were the same kind of people. But the Bon Jovi thing was completely different. That one was really shockingly weird too, because the way that tour went was that it was a Bon Jovi show, and then they would have a day off because they had to get their production to travel somewhere else, and then do like another show. So we set up shows in between all those, and so we would do like a Bon Jovi show where, and I'll get back to that, and then we do like our own show, and it's like 2,000 kids screaming and like, yeah, woo, you know, we love Les and Jake, and then we go back to the Bon Jovi show, and we're like shoved in like the dressing room, like the locker room for the hockey team, or it was like in all hockey arenas or like basketball arenas. We were always shoved in like the broom closet somewhere in our dressing room, and we're sitting there waiting for our time to sound check. And man, the doors would open at like 7 o'clock, and we would go on at 7:30, so it was like half an hour for a whole arena to get in there, and then we only played for half an hour. So people were always just walking in while we're playing, and sometimes the doors would open late, and they'd only been open for like 15 minutes, so people were like, walk out there, and there was like 10 people, and we're like, shit, okay, we gotta start playing. And then you know, people would kind of filtering in. You hear like the lady on the cell phone, oh no, you got plenty of time to get in, the first band's still playing, you're not missing much. And then like John Bon Jovi would play for like, you know, 2 hours or something. But they were great. Like they were really fun. You'd see like Tico Torres, the drummer, on the side of the stage, like rocking out, you guys. Like Chris was like, we're Winger from whatever, and he came up after the show and was like, that was great when you said you guys was Winger, I was cracking up. We saw like John Bon Jovi came down the back like of the arena like after we got off one day, and he was like shadow boxing. He was like, man, you guys was great today. It was like the most ridiculous weird thing ever. We won some people over those. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, so obviously
it was a hard sell.
Yeah.
So you performed on the Warped Tour many times, and how does that compare to like UK festivals?
It's a little different than like the festivals over here in Europe, because the Warped Tour is like a thing where it travels around the whole U.S. for the whole summer, and so it's more like a traveling circus, and you play in one city for not as many people as like say Reading is like 80,000 people or whatever, whereas the Warped Tour is more like 10 to 20, 20,000 people is like a huge show for the Warped Tour. But it's, as far as how the thing is, it's kind of the same. But it's only for one day too, and people aren't camping, and you know, here it's always fucking raining too, so it's like people in like boots up to their knees and like, you know, shirts off throwing mud at each other and like crazy stuff, and then you're sleeping and spending the night in that crap, and you know, literally in that crap. Sometimes porta potties overflow and you're sleeping in it. And, I mean, it's more of like a weekend experience here, I think. Festivals over here are pretty cool and fun, and like it's way more of a longer event and like a thing. I don't know. And I think the whole concept of that started over here more so than in the States. So the Warped Tour is kind of a copy of that, but it's more of a traveling thing too. So it's more of a one-day thing. But during the show and during the stuff, it is kind of similar though. You know, it's like this, you know, big stage set up, and you know, lots of bands going on all over the place. And so it compares a little bit, but it's definitely a little different. The festivals over here are a bigger thing for sure.
Yeah. Do you find it hard trying to balance your music career with your home life, with yourself being on tour?
Yeah, that's definitely been a chore. You turn into kind of a multiple personality syndrome kind of person. It's a little weird because there's a certain way you have to live out on the road, and you know, when you don't have any of the comforts of home, you don't have like, you can wake up in your bed that wasn't moving all night, like, and you know, you don't have your stove to cook on and all this stuff. You know, you can't turn on your TV, and you don't have all your stuff around. You know, it's like you're living out of a bag and you're on the road. It's like, it's a totally different lifestyle for sure. And then as far as like trying to keep relationships alive, that's just a nightmare. I can't even get into that. Like that's a whole like 45-minute conversation on that side of things.
So who's the practical joker on tour, and what antics have you done?
Everybody in our band. Yeah, it's pretty much a nonstop. Either ribbing each other. We're basically like you guys don't have the Brady Bunch over here, do you? Like the TV show. It's like we're just like a group of brothers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so you know how you treat your brother. You know, like it's either if he does something wrong, you punch him in the arm and tell him he's a dick, and if you know you're doing something right, like, I like you get wasted together and hug each other. I love you, man. And you know, but there's always stupid shit going on. Chris will be like hot, you know, like you'll make a sandwich and then you turn around for 2 seconds and he's like got it over the other side hidden. Like I mean, there's definitely some ridiculousness that goes on at all moments of the day.